Right now, as you listen to these words, your body is quietly glowing. Not in a poetic way, not as a metaphor, but literally. Every cell inside you is releasing tiny flashes of light. Photons, so faint that no human eye can see them. Yet these sparks are real. They flicker through you every millisecond, forming a silent symphony of light. Most people live their entire lives unaware that they are radiant beings. We walk through our days thinking we are solid matter, flesh, blood, and bone. But beneath that illusion, there is something far more mysterious happening. A subtle radiance that might be the true signature of life itself. Scientists call it ultra-weak photon emission. Spiritual traditions call it aura, life force, or divine spark. Different names, same phenomenon. This light doesn't just leak from the body like heat from a fire. It's organized, rhythmic, intelligent. It's a form of communication, a luminous language spoken by your DNA, your cells, and maybe even your consciousness. So what if these photons are not just a side effect of biology, but a reflection of your inner state? What if every emotion, every thought, every breath shapes the way your body shines? Today, we'll explore how science is rediscovering something ancient. That we are beings of light, connected to each other and to the universe through a luminous network that bridges matter and mind. The story begins in the 1970s, in a small German laboratory where physicist Fritz-Albert Popp was investigating carcinogens, chemicals that cause cancer. He wasn't searching for light. He was searching for truth. But truth often hides in unexpected places. While studying how certain compounds interacted with ultraviolet radiation, Popp noticed something strange. Some substances absorbed light at one wavelength and re-emitted it at another. This re-emission wasn't random. It was structured, coherent, as if carrying information. That observation ignited a question that changed his career. Could living cells themselves be emitting light? To find out, he placed samples of living cells inside a completely dark, light-proof chamber. Using extremely sensitive photomultipliers, he waited. And then, the detectors began to register faint flashes, far weaker than any bioluminescence known before. The pattern was too regular to be noise. Every living organism he tested, plants, animals, humans, emitted light, constantly. Healthy cells produced light in clear, periodic pulses, almost like breathing. Diseased cells emitted chaotic, unstable light. It was as if health and coherence were literally luminous phenomena. Popp called these emissions biophotons, light quanta produced by biological systems. He proposed that DNA itself acted as the main source and regulator, functioning like a fiber optic network, transmitting information across the body. The implications were enormous. If the body is constantly emitting and receiving photons, then light could be the fundamental medium through which the body organizes itself. Faster than chemical reactions, more subtle than electrical impulses. Popp's peers were skeptical. Light, after all, belonged to the world of physics, not biology. But as technology advanced, other labs confirmed similar findings. Biophoton emission became measurable, not just in plants and animals, but even in human tissues. Our hands, faces, and brains subtly glow in the dark. What Popp had stumbled upon was not just a biological curiosity. It was a doorway, a scientific hint that the boundary between light and life might not exist at all. Imagine for a moment that your body is not a collection of organs, but an orchestra of light. Each cell is a musician, each photon a note. When everything is tuned and synchronized, the melody becomes harmony, what we call health. When the instruments fall out of rhythm, the music turns to noise, what we call disease. This isn't just poetic. Studies have shown that biophotons are most coherent meaning phase-aligned, like a laser, when the organism is in balance. Coherence is the difference between scattered light and laser light, order versus chaos, intention versus accident. Inside your cells, biophotons appear to be generated mainly by the DNA during metabolic processes, oxidative reactions, and especially when the cell repairs itself. But instead of just escaping randomly, this light seems to form a communication web, a biophotonic field connecting distant parts of the organism instantly. Electrochemical signals move at a few hundred kilometers per hour. Light moves at 300,000 kilometers per second. Theoretically, that means your body could synchronize processes almost instantaneously through photon exchange. Some researchers even describe the human body as an optical hologram, a system where every part contains information about the whole. That might explain how healing in one region can influence distant regions, or why emotional shifts affect the entire physiology in seconds. In this view, light is not a byproduct. It's the software of life. Ancient traditions hinted at this long ago. Chinese medicine speaks of qi, Indian philosophy of prana, Western mystics of divine illumination. Modern science may be catching up with metaphors that are thousands of years old. When we say someone is radiant, we may be describing more than emotion. We might be sensing an actual biophotonic state of coherence. Now let's dive deeper into the intersection between physics and consciousness. Quantum theory tells us that light behaves both as a particle and a wave, existing in superposition until observed. The famous Double-Slit Experiment revealed that observation collapses probability into reality. But what exactly is observation? If your cells are continuously emitting photons, if your DNA is radiating and absorbing light, then observation might not be something you do, but something you are. You are a living field of awareness, interacting with the quantum field through light. Every photon your body releases could be a tiny act of observation, a micro-collapse of probability into form. From this perspective, your physical existence is a dynamic conversation between matter and consciousness, a dialogue written in light. Meditation experiments have revealed intriguing hints. When people enter deep meditative states, the coherence of their biophoton emission increases. The light becomes more ordered, the body more synchronized. Under stress, that coherence fragments. It's as if your internal light field mirrors your inner state. Peace creates order. Fear creates entropy. Consciousness, then, might be the master conductor tuning this orchestra of photons. When your mind is scattered, the music is noise. When you are centered, present, and aligned, the light reorganizes, and your entire system follows. What if your thoughts are not confined to the brain at all, but propagate as subtle photonic patterns through your entire being? What if every intention you set is literally coded in light? That's not just mysticism. It's a hypothesis that bridges quantum physics, neuroscience, and spirituality in a way that invites both curiosity and wonder. Let's return to something tangible: how this light behaves in the real world. Biophotons are not random emissions. They appear to follow certain patterns, frequencies, and rhythms that correlate with biological cycles. Researchers have observed that human biophoton output changes with circadian rhythm, respiration, and even emotional states. When people experience gratitude, compassion, or love, their heart rhythms and brain waves become more coherent. Some experiments suggest that biophoton emissions follow suit. The light becomes smoother, steadier, and more harmonized. Why does this matter? Because coherence doesn't just describe light, it describes connection. Coherence is when parts move together as one whole. It's the opposite of fragmentation. Whether in physics, biology, or relationships, coherence is the mark of harmony. So when you align mind, heart, and breath, your entire system literally begins to shine in a more ordered way. Your light field stabilizes. You feel grounded, but expanded. Spiritual traditions teach that enlightenment, the awakening of consciousness, is not something you acquire. It's something you uncover. You were luminous all along. You just forgot to notice. Science might now be offering metaphors for that awakening. The pineal gland, often called the third eye, contains cells similar to those in the retina. While not directly light-sensitive like the eyes, it responds to the rhythms of light and darkness that guide your sleep, hormones, and mood. Symbolically and biochemically, it's a bridge between the outer and inner worlds, translating external light into internal chemistry, and possibly into perception itself. When the body's light field is coherent, this inner sensor seems to function optimally, producing states of clarity, intuition, and deep calm. So when sages across history said, "You are the light of the world," perhaps they were describing something more literal than metaphorical. In physics, resonance is when two systems vibrate in harmony. Strike one tuning fork, and another nearby begins to sing at the same frequency. The universe itself seems built on this principle. Biophotons appear to behave the same way. Two living systems brought near each other can influence each other's light emissions, a phenomenon known as biophotonic resonance. Some cell cultures have been observed to synchronize their behavior purely through photon exchange, without chemical or electrical contact. Now expand that idea to humans. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt lighter or heavier without anyone saying a word? You may have sensed the resonance of biophotonic coherence, your light field interacting with others. When two people share deep presence through eye contact, empathy, or love, their physiological rhythms begin to synchronize. Heartbeats align. Brainwaves mirror each other. Perhaps light aligns too. Resonance is not just an emotional concept. It's a universal language of energy alignment. That's why acts of kindness feel radiant, literally. They restore coherence, both within and between people. The energy becomes organized. The field becomes brighter. When you meditate, pray, or simply breathe consciously, you're tuning your own frequency. The more coherent you become, the more you influence the field around you. You don't need to preach light. You need only embody it. Your presence, your calm, your authenticity, these are all photonic signals. The brighter and more coherent they are, the more they reshape the space you inhabit. Skeptics might ask, are biophotons really connected to consciousness? Or is this poetic speculation? That's a fair question, and science is still exploring the answer. Biophoton research is real, but remains on the frontier. We know living organisms emit ultra-weak light. We can measure it with photomultipliers. We know its patterns correlate with metabolism, stress, and rhythm. What remains uncertain is how far this light communication extends, whether it plays a role in cell-to-cell coordination, or whether it interacts with consciousness itself. Yet, great revolutions in science always begin with anomalies. Electricity once seemed mystical. Quantum entanglement sounded impossible. Today, they're pillars of technology. In a similar way, biophotons invite us to expand the map of what life might be. Perhaps light is not just energy, but information. Not just wave, but language. DNA's spiral geometry, the double helix, is ideal for interacting with electromagnetic fields. It might function as both transmitter and receiver, tuning to the frequencies of its environment. If so, your genetic code isn't a static script, it's a dynamic antenna. And your consciousness, through intention and attention, might subtly adjust that antenna's tuning. This is where spirituality meets physics. When you change your focus, you change the information your body radiates. When you change your emotional state, you alter your coherence, and coherence determines how efficiently your light communicates with the field. This could be why healing often begins not with medicine, but with meaning. Why forgiveness, gratitude, or surrender can catalyze biological recovery, because they shift the state of the field itself. Science may one day measure these subtleties, but wisdom traditions have always known what you radiate, you receive. You are both the sender and the receiver of the light you emit. So what does it mean to live as a being of light? It's not about glowing in the dark or performing miracles. It's about awareness, remembering that everything you think, feel, and imagine changes the quality of your inner light. When you speak with kindness, your photons align. When you act with integrity, your field strengthens. When you cultivate stillness, the noise within you settles, and the natural radiance of your being shines through. You can experience this directly. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Imagine your body filled with golden light, not as fantasy, but as recognition of what's already true. Each breath fans the flame. Each heartbeat sends ripples of light through your cells. You're not generating light, you're revealing it. Spend time in nature. The photons emitted by plants, water, and living soil carry coherence that your system naturally entrains to. That's why you feel refreshed after being outdoors. Your field synchronizes with the Earth's. Live as though every interaction imprints light into the world, because it does. Your words are photons carried through air. Your gaze transmits measurable energy. Your presence modifies the environment. When you begin to see yourself this way, something profound shifts. Life stops being a sequence of problems to solve and becomes a dance of frequencies to tune. And the more you harmonize, the more reality seems to align around you. There's still so much we don't know. Perhaps biophotons connect us through dimensions of space and time we haven't yet understood. Perhaps the photons we emit carry imprints of our thoughts, information that travels beyond the body, influencing events we can't yet measure. These ideas stretch the boundaries of current science, but that's what frontiers are for, to remind us that mystery still exists. A century ago, nobody could have imagined that observation itself shapes physical outcomes. Now it's proven. Maybe a century from now, humanity will confirm that consciousness, light, and life are three faces of the same phenomenon. Until then, the invitation is simple. Live as if it's true. Live as if your light matters, because whether or not science has fully mapped it, your own experience will. You'll feel the difference when you speak truth instead of fear, when you act from love instead of survival. You'll notice how certain people lift you and others drain you, how environments can feel luminous or heavy. That's light, coherence, and resonance in action. And when you choose coherence, when you bring awareness into each breath, gratitude into each heartbeat, you align with the deeper intelligence of the universe. You become part of the great luminous network, the living web of photons that binds all life together. In the end, this isn't just about photons or physics or even biology. It's about remembering who and what you truly are. You are not a collection of cells accidentally glowing. You are consciousness expressing itself through light, awareness embodied as energy. Every thought is a signal, every emotion a wavelength, every action a beam cast into the quantum ocean of existence. When you understand this, responsibility becomes sacred, because to live as light means to know that everything you do sends ripples through the whole. The next time you breathe, feel the radiance within your chest. The next time you look into someone's eyes, realize you're not just seeing reflected light, you're sharing it. We are not isolated beings wandering in darkness. We are interconnected suns, illuminating each other's paths, weaving the universe with invisible threads of coherence. So nurture your light, speak truthfully, love fiercely, and remember, the universe doesn't respond to words, it responds to frequency. Be the frequency of clarity, of peace, of compassion. Because the brighter you become, the clearer the world becomes around you. And when enough of us shine coherently, maybe, just maybe, we'll illuminate what it truly means to be human.